There is not a single country in the world that shares the same respect as Canadians. You put a Canadian passport down, and it means something internationally. The Anhalt GMI did another study this year. They interviewed thousands of people in 15 countries around the world, and when they asked them to rank brand of people, quality of people, every single country in the world, except for one, said Canada. Guess who the one was? Right. And their choice was Australia. Some sort of Australian mafia in the works. We are also the people who invented the wingman. We are the best wingmen in the business. You ask anybody internationally who's ever worked with a Canadian, ask them if they've worked with them, they said yes, ask them if they like that person, and their answer will be an unequivocal yes, I guarantee it 90% of the time. So let's take a look and shift gears here for the last 3-4 minutes and talk about technology and where we're going the next year. I think all you need to learn and know is that technology is about these two terms, adolescence and tailor shops. From an adolescence perspective, we are moving into the early stages of the infancy of the web and mobility. We're moving from being tiny babies into what is really the sort of second period of maybe a best-of-7 series of Game 1. And what I mean by tailor shops is that all of the good entrepreneurs today who got burned in the early eras of the internet are realizing that to build businesses, you have to do what my grandfather did when he came to this country, which is he built a tailor shop. He didn't go out asking for VCs to finance his tailor shop. He just made sure that it made money, and he built it. If you look back to all the promises that we made in 1998 about the dot-com era, they have all come true. Google and Yahoo are producing $800 million a quarter in profit on $1 billion in revenue. Skype is the largest long-distance carrier in the world without a dollar spent in advertising. PayPal is now twice the size of American Express. And last year, 12% of North Americans that were married met online. We are in a fundamental shift in our economy about how things are moving and how we communicate. If you look at mobility, there are only 300 million PCs in the world today. There are 2 billion mobile phones. By 2007, we will be at 3 billion mobile phones, of which 80% will be web-enabled. People will not be accessing over the web. And finally, community. Technology is not what's relevant. The value and growth in technology is about the community that we're able to build around the technology. And we've learned that lesson the hard way. And here are the 10 things I think you need to watch for very closely. Number 1, the creation of a private web. Google over the last 4 years has been acquiring dark fiber all throughout the United States. They are building based on security concerns that we're seeing, and I'll talk about in a minute. People are building their own faster, more secure, private versions of the internet so they can sell you advertising more efficiently. And we've heard a lot about voice over IP. This will be the year that in the corporate environment, 30 to 40% of people will shift over to voice over IP lines without even knowing it. Consumer, you'll see about 20 to 30%, and you'll ask yourself once you've shifted over why we didn't do it before. Blogging. How many of you are bloggers? Have your own blog? I would tell you right now that the first thing you need to do when you leave this place today is go buy your domain name for your personal name, www.yourname.com. Because if you're not part of the global conversation when it comes to blogging, you are committing a very serious error. This is the most important change in marketing and PR in our history. For the first time, the holy grail of word of mouth, which everyone tried to monitor and control, word of mouth is now able to be monitored, measured, and influenced. And if you're not involved in the conversation about your company, you're taking a big risk because it will go on without you. If you take a look, we're seeing the first early adopters in Silicon Valley move over to that untethered version of the internet on their phones. Now, 20% of the meetings I'm in, people don't even have a laptop anymore. Cyber terror. This is a very, very serious issue. As we saw with the Muslim cartoon issue and many of the sites that were hijacked throughout the Muslim and Danish world, or Danes, I never even saw that coming. The reality is that the next major terror event is not going to be a guy strapping a bomb to himself and walking on a plane. The next major terror event is going to be somebody hacking into the radar systems at an airport authority or on a plane and bringing that plane down without ever physically being there. And it's something we need to be very scared and very aware about. Advertising starts to get exceptionally personal and exceptionally local, and today only 3% of our ad spend is online. Gen Ys and millennials, the people born 1981 and below, people are fascinated with the baby boomers. These guys are 3 times the size of the baby boomers. And each one of them does not talk on the phone, function, interact in the same way that we do. They are the first generation in history that is 2 feet out of the old world. My generation is still 1 foot in and 1 foot out. We watch TV, we read newspapers. These people do not. And they are about to take the 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds a very serious change. And if you want to see where the world is going and how you make money and how you stay competitive, keep a very close eye on this generation. This will be the first year in your life in history where more people will spend time in a virtual community than they will in their own physical one. You will spend more time on email, instant message, in MySpace, Google, eBay, wherever you spend your time online, you will spend more of it online than you will in a physical environment. You'll also see a huge new class of web entrepreneurs exist. There are guys today, and lots of them, making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, sitting in their underwear, selling stuff on eBay, or running affiliate programs, and thinking to themselves why they didn't start it before. Because of the internet, we will see the greatest shift in generational wealth that we have ever seen in our history. And finally, the big change is the end of traditional media. The media business is dying in a very sad way, and we are seeing the rise of participatory journalism because every major world event that has been caught first to scene in the last 12 months has been caught by you and I. We are now the reporters because the physical location restrictions of media doesn't allow them to get there, where we're there with physical cameras and digital cameras. And I'll just show you, just in closing here, just how drastic the change is. Technorati monitors the blogosphere. There are today over 75,000 blogs created a day, 1 every second, of which 50% of the people are generally keeping updates on a regular basis. And so to close off, I'll just leave you some thoughts on innovation. First and foremost, Rob McEwen. Rob had a fundamental shift in the mining business. He basically said, I'm going to put my geological data online. He inherited a mine that had absolutely no way of being discovering gold. 2 Australian geologists, without ever having been to the site, found gold in 6 months. Rob was chastised, threatened to be kicked off the board, you name it. And what he said was very simple. When I bring change into an organization, I completely ignore the detractors. I don't fire them, I don't get rid of them, I ignore them, and I just take everyone who's willing to share my vision, and I hold them, and I hold their hand, and I offer my hand, and we move forward, and inevitably everyone follows. And Jeff Ballard, who ran Ballard Power, basically said the following. This is the person responsible for the hydrogen fuel cell. Jeff Ballard said, we are problem Canadians, because our problem is focusing on, we are lords of the middle kingdom, we are the Frodos of the economic world. That incremental innovation is not relevant. The only thing that's relevant is swinging for the fences. And with swinging for the fences comes the acceptance of huge risk. And on that note, I'll leave you with the greatest quote of all time for any entrepreneur or any innovator anywhere. And it is not by Bill Gates or any entrepreneur, it's by a drunken Irish poet named George Bernard Shaw. People are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstance. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, make them. And this should be on the front page of every document of anything you ever do. So thank you, first of all, for your time and Speaker Spotlight for bringing me.